Everyone and their grandmother is telling you how to sell in the DM, but I'm going to break down exactly why it's murdering your money. And in 5 simple steps, I'm going to break down how we took a founder from making £48,000 per month to £168,000 per month in just a 4-week period. I'm going to break down every step of the process. Now, the first thing that we did was map out her journey. The next thing was build her systems. After that, we started recruitment. Then it was on to the training for the sales rep and the setter. And the last thing was the execution and then showing you the results that we got from doing so. Now, this founder had a 4K offer for her social media services, selling around 12 per month. She was running follow ads and messenger ads. And as soon as they landed on a page, a DM sequence would open up. And she had built this flow going back and forth with the messages and got the messaging pretty good. So when we first spoke to her, the main thing was, I want to make more sales, but I'm not sure how. Why do I need a sales rep? So the first thing was actually the barrier of her knowing what she's going to do with a sales rep and how a sales rep would actually help her business. And the mindset shift that we had to take her from was, why would I actually employ someone and hire someone when I'm making sales already? Now, the process of not having a good sales process in a business was costing her over £100,000 every single month, because as soon as we implemented it in the 4-week period, she had shot up from 48,000 to 668,000. And what do we do? Now, the first thing that we did was mapping out her journey. When we were looking at mapping out her journey, we looked at where the lead actually starts. Now, the lead actually starts off the back of an ad, so right at the top of the funnel. Now, once the lead actually inquires, what's the next thing that happens? What's the very next thing? So we mapped out exactly what automation is sat next. What we actually did was we put in some softwares like ManyChats and we linked it to her HubSpot. But I'm going to go over that in the system section. In this section, we're just going to go over the entire map. So in the business process map that we laid out for her, it was when the top of funnel, when the lead comes in, either through an ad or an organic message, what is the next step? Now, the next step was naturally, well, they get a message from the setter. So we mapped out exactly when the setter would come in and what the setter would message. So we wrote down all the activation points and then we actually mapped out the mechanism. The mechanism is more what we're actually saying and what we're doing. So when we did all the activation points of the entire journey, we looked at the lead coming in. Then when the lead comes in, it goes over to a CRM. When the CRM comes in, has the lead actually booked a call from the automated link or did they not book? And because it's a yes and no option, it's more of a diamond shape on our business processing map. So if you know business processes, you'll know it's a diamond shape and then it's a yes or no. So we moved on to the next step, which is yes or no. And if it's a yes, we now have the call and we move them towards the sale. And that's a way easier journey. But outside of that, you have all the automations and the confirmation emails. And the beauty of actually knowing exactly what to do on the map is you can look at it as an overseer and think, right, where in this journey do I need to have an automated email? How can I add specific videos or emails going out in this journey to make sure the touch points stay high? Because we recommend 7 to 9 touch points before the sales call. And if we can have more touch points, we're going to increase the chance of that trust being built and the lead comes onto the call far more trusting and we're able to close them. Now, specifically for this business, we didn't actually increase the prices. That is something that we do, but the main thing was actually getting the system up and running. So in the first month that we actually implemented this, which was April, we did no price increase. It was still the 4K offer. The month after we did, but we're not going to cover that. The main thing that we're going to cover is how we actually got more units sold and how we actually went from 48,000 to 168,000, which is really tripling her revenue. Now, the main thing in that business process map was what actually happens in the system. So all the way until the journey is closed where that customer has bought, what needs to happen. So once we mapped out that entire journey, how we actually did that was we got a whiteboard, we put sticky notes on. So we mapped out the journey, we stuck sticky notes onto the whiteboard, starting at here's the inquiry and all the way to the bottom, which was the sale being made. And that entire journey we mapped out on some sticky notes onto the whiteboard. After that was done, the next thing that we did was actually move it over to a Miro board and we put it onto the computer. Now we have the final copy of what that journey looks like. Once we mapped out the journey, now it's clear to see what systems we need to have in place to be able to facilitate this journey. Because before then, we didn't know that we needed ManyChats. We didn't know that we needed the right CRM system. We didn't know what automations need to be put in place through Zapier. So after we mapped out the journey, then it was very clear of what systems we need. Moving on to step 2. In step 2, we put in all the systems that she needs. Now, she was using a Go High Level setup. We actually moved her away from Go High Level simply because, in my opinion, as a business is growing, you want to have more of a professional system. And with businesses that are moving over 3 million in revenue, we actually recommend more of a HubSpot setup. I tend to find Go High Level is really good for entrepreneurs, info marketing services in the early stages. But as you grow, the system does become more really clunky. So we moved her on to HubSpot, which she actually found way easier. And we tend to find that the implementation from sales reps and setters moving into HubSpot is just far more effective because they just use the system. If you ever had a sales rep and you give them Go High Level, it takes them a bit longer to get used to it. When we look at the average training time of how long it takes them to become competent at that software. Now, the systems that we put in place were, we had ManyChat set up. So after the ad was being run, the messages were coming in. Now, she might have a lead magnet or she might have a message ad, but after the message that came in, it went into ManyChats. Now, the setter that we put in, now we knew that the setter that we're going to put in is going to be in ManyChats. The reason why we don't put them into the IGDM is a lot of the times when you have setters from different places, we've been recruiting setters from Mexico, from South Africa, and a lot of the times the VPN issues can cause a lot of damaging reputation on your IG. You can get a lot of warnings where it's like, hey, we know that you're using this IG in different places, or something would happen where your password's compromised. And how many times we have someone with a large personal brand who their password gets compromised and something happens to their profile. I've seen it a lot. So the main reason how we actually protect that is put that person into ManyChats. So we get a team account and we add the setter into the ManyChats. So the next thing, after ManyChats gets the message, it creates a contact. So we knew that that contact goes over to HubSpot. Now, once it's in HubSpot, we actually have a pipeline where the pipeline will actually take the journey from the first message, second message, third message, all the way to the fourth message where we'll stop trying. So we put in a specific system to make sure the leads can be carried out. And then we actually move them into an appointment call. So we move them into a sales call for the closer. And then around that entire journey, we knew that we needed all the emails. So for emails, we initially was using ActiveCampaign. We moved it over to HubSpot's email and we added all the workflows in behind that to make sure all the messages were cohesive with that journey. So we had the systems in place. So we used ManyChats. Then we implemented HubSpot. We moved away from ActiveCampaign. Even though ActiveCampaign is a great tool, you get a lot of business analytics in the back end. We moved it over to HubSpot just for the ease of use for the founder because she doesn't have a big team. So the main thing was actually using the simplest tools. A lot of the times, the best tools out there might not be the best for you. And if I break down the main reason why, if we have the best tool for email, let's say it's going to be ActiveCampaign rather than HubSpot in this scenario, why would we rather use HubSpot, which might not have one or two of the features? Well, the main thing is that we want to use a software that the founder can get to grips of. If we're already changing her CRM and then giving her another piece of software, it's only going to take her longer to get used to it. So by just having one CRM and one system in place and the least amount of softwares, the actual ability to get a grips, the ability to actually use the platform will be far higher. So we only had two simple softwares, ManyChats and HubSpot. She actually had our done for you system. So we actually did all the automations for her where we actually mapped out. She's going from, the lead comes from ManyChats all the way to HubSpot and we built out that entire journey. Now, the next thing after the system was built, so we had all the right softwares, had all the right tech in the business. We then made sure we got the last thing in place, which was a dialer, and we used Ring Central in this occasion. So what we did was we integrated Ring Central into a HubSpot so the closer actually has a way to be able to call. After that, that was pretty much the tech stack done. And obviously, it goes without saying that you have Stripe or you have like Easy Pay Direct or you have some sort of payment processor, depends where you are, US or America. We've been using Stripe a lot of the times in the UK, but we're tending to find that as businesses grow, they can put a lot of a hold on your account, at times putting a 10 to 15 to 20% hold on your account. So it's good to have your second payment processor. So just before we move on, I wanted to just say that it's good to have your second business processor. It's good to have your second processor ready just in case. There's going to be times where your business can be shut down for trading for whatever reason, even if you've done nothing wrong. So it's always good to have a second processor. Now, the next thing we did was actually the recruitment. Now, this makes up for a big component of what we actually do with businesses because we actually offer the main system, which is a done for you and a done with you system. And what we do is actually help to create the job ad. The job ad was actually made up off the back of a job description. The job description was made off the back of her mission values and what she actually needs. So if I work backwards, it's easy to say, right, I need to hire a sales rep and I need to hire a setter, which is two job ads. But those two people that are going to come into your company, if they just start off the back of a job description, it's not enough for them to get buy-in. This business was on a mission to be able to grow their social media services and to help others doing so. The founder actually had an incredible mission and personal story, and we wanted people to buy into it. By getting your sales reps and your setters to buy into the actual company itself is a big component for success. So we actually created the entire training. So one was actually the role-specific SOPs and one was company-specific SOPs. So be able to have two different SOPs in place every time a sales rep is onboarded. But just to go back to the recruitment side, because we'll cover onboarding in just a second, in the recruitment, we created the job ad. The job ad that we created, we always create off the back of our framework, which is the 4 R's, which is results, requirements, role, and responsibilities. By mapping out all the 4 R's of the job description, we can actually dictate what that person will be doing. One of the biggest mistakes most people make is they undersell the opportunity and they make it seem as though it's super easy when they start. What we actually choose to do is tell the sales reps or tell the setter in the beginning, this is actually a really tough role. We're on a trajectory to really grow our business and we're really demanding. And by saying that very early, we actually create an environment for having people on board that are super competitive, that buy into the company. Now, what most founders do, in a mistake in hiring, is they'll say something like to the sales rep, super easy, you'll be making 10K a month in here and no commission, not an issue at all. Now, the issue with this is that you're going to not deter away people who are scared of hard work. A lot of people don't want to do the work to make the money. Most people only just look at the end result. Well, I want to make 10K in commission. I want to make this much in commission. By doing that, you're actually going to hurt your business. So what we actually do is we actually make it really clear in the start that this is a super transactional role where we require all of your efforts. But we also share the business's values and mission. By sharing the business's values and mission, it sets the standard for what that salesperson can expect. Because later, when it comes to actually the training part and the actual management of that salesperson, it's far easier to say, well, that's not aligned with our mission, rather than why did you do that? Having people aligned to your mission is just far easier to manage because everyone is singing off the same hymn sheet. Everyone from the founder all the way to the VA, the setter, the closer, the operational director, everyone is just on one page, which makes your journey far more direct because everyone is just moving towards one clear goal. So in order, once we had done the job description, we'd actually done the job description based upon the mission and the values, which we actually put into the framework of the 4 R's. Then we created the job ad. The job ad we normally do in two different ways. We can often do it where we're creating it on Indeed or on CV Library. But what we actually did for this was we knew that we wanted someone commission-based to reduce the risk of the founder, because the founder was actually quite concerned about the cost going up. The founder's main concern that we had at this point was, I'm going to have to start paying the sales closer commission. And what if they don't like it? What if this happens? I'm not used to managing people. Now, how we actually went about recruiting this person once the job ad was done, we actually went over to Facebook groups. Usually, we would go over to Indeed or go over to like a recruitment website or even use some of our recruiters. But on this occasion, we knew that they'd be able to recruit someone from Facebook groups because the role was super versatile and easy to recruit for. So we went on to Facebook groups, and we specifically went on to Facebook groups that said something like remote working staff. We went on to Upwork and put the job ad on there as a backup. But within a Facebook group, we actually posted the job. We found that over 80 comments came in straight away of people that were super interested. Now, we went through the comments. All we actually did was we posted a link in the job description for a type form. The type form had questions that were qualifying sales reps and setters in different ways. Now, the way we had qualified the sales reps was one of the questions, because we put around 12 or 13 questions, one of the key questions was, what's your sales philosophy? Now, I love putting the sales philosophy question in the actual type form because most people don't have a sales philosophy, but that's okay. If they put something like what I've learned off Brian Tracy, when we put the question around the books, we learned off old school selling people, I know the quality of that salesperson. We'll still might hire them, but we know the quality that they're going to be coming off. But when we put the sales philosophy and they don't answer it in a customer service way, and they give us specific closing frameworks or philosophy that they followed or watched online or they've learned, it gives us a great indication that this person actually has studied sales in some way, which is a great thing for us because now just in that one question, we know the competence of that person. We actually will, a lot of the times, that would usually lead to a better one-to-one interview when someone can actually clearly state their sales philosophy. We might put in what books you've read on sales, and then depending on what books they've read, we know what type of stuff they're into as well. And just like anyone that even reads books in sales, they're super interested in. Someone's super interested in sales, you know they're trying to get better, you know probably they're going to be able to be a great closer for you. So we'll actually put those questions in. Now for the setter, something that we just put in is more about their experience, how many years of experience they have. The setter, because it was a commission-based role based off 3% commission, we knew that we're going to be able to have maybe 2 or 3 candidates and setters come in because of the volume of the messages. So what we actually did was we created 2 job posts in the setter, allowing 2 setters to come in and 1 closer. Many a time we actually will employ 2 closers, especially when it's like commission only, because one of them will do really good, one of them won't do so good. You can keep the one that does great. The worst case, they both do amazing and now you've got 2 great closers. But I can tell you how often, because you're probably the first time you're recruiting a sales rep, or you're not as experienced, because I've done this now for 7-8 years where I've been recruiting sales reps. If you hire 2, it makes it far easier because you now have someone to compare it to. If you've just hired your first sales rep, how do you even know if they're doing good or bad? You only know that by actually comparing them. So we actually put a lot of emphasis into recruitment, just like this video here. The biggest component of this video is probably recruitment, because this is the key component of how you're going to be able to find sales reps for yourself. This video should be able to give the playbook on how you can actually do it and implement it. And it's something that we charge our clients a lot of money to do for them. So once we had actually created the job ad, posted a job ad, posted it in the right places, Facebook groups, posted it with the type form, we then had done the interviews. The interviews, we actually chose to do it in a longer way, because I tend to find the longer your interview process, the lower your churn rate of staff. So the more your steps that you have in your interviews, the less likely you are to have a higher churn rate of closers. A lot of people have closers coming in and out their business every single month, every single other month, because they just don't last. Sales is a nature of a job which has a high churn rate. So your retention of that as a company, it's expensive because you're continuously hiring and training people. You're taking time out, or if you have a sales manager, they're taking time out. So it's incredibly expensive. And when you already have ads running and then you've got the training, it can just set up for a formula to really cost you a lot of money, which most people don't even account for. So what we'll actually do is make the process really efficient. We have a screening interview, which is just basically the first stage, just to qualify people, and kind of after a basic shortlisting. We'll then move them on to a proper interview where we'll talk to them more about who they are, more of a one-on-one setting. And then at the last stage, we'll do more of a competency scorecard type of interview where we actually show them the role. And the reason why I actually have that third step and actually show them everything is I want to make sure every single person that we employ into a business actually knows what to expect. So we have a scorecard, which is for the first 4 weeks, week by week, what they're going to be doing and what's expected from them. So we have a grading system. By the end of the first week, we expect you to be at this level. And then we grade them from 1 to 4. And by having that system in place, we're able to get sales reps in, show them on the interview stage what we expect from them, and then they start. And by having someone commission only, which we gave them a 10% commission, which is a great incentive for them, because if they're making, you think of the opportunity cost for them as well, if they're making $400 per close, and you've got other incentives outside of that, and they're going to be making £168,000 worth of sales. If you're getting 10% of that, that's $16,000. As a sales closer, you being able to make $16,000 in a month is incredible. That is a 6-figure role. So we want to make sure we have the right salesperson, because this salesperson is going to be pushed. And I would say that we actually should have got 2 people in place, because this salesperson was a rare person, because they actually went above and beyond, worked over the hours, and was a great closer, because organically they ended up closing at around 50%, which organically you don't tend to find people closing at 50. Off the back of a cold ad, you tend to find people closing at 20%, if that, sometimes 30 if they're a star. But this person was actually closing and doing a lot of sales. And I would say we pushed the founder to actually jump in on sales, because the founder lacked a lot of sales experience, and we wanted them to actually get some experience, and we actually got them to jump in and open up 5 or 6 hours of their calendar every single week. So then there was enough of an opportunity cost for the founder to be able to learn and lead from the front, because we knew that when we actually put the sales rep in, the sales rep's not going to really listen to the founder if the founder can't really sell. So we had to also give the training to the founder, which was really good for the founder as well, because now she knows how to sell, how to actually manage a team far better. So after we had put these things in place, we started the onboarding. So we did the 3rd stage interview, we picked the sales rep, we picked the setter, During the onboarding, we actually had the entire 4 weeks mapped out. Now remember, we started this process right in the beginning of March. So it took us the entire 4 weeks to be able to get that person fully trained. The person was selling already 1 or 2 units here and there, but we knew that April is going to be their first month. April is going to be the month that they can really truly attack the phones and get the grips with the system and get the grips with all the inquiries that are coming in. We started them a few days before, after their training was complete, so we knew that everything is ready for them to actually hit the ground running, and we set them up for success. So that covers the third section, which is the onboarding, training, and recruiting part. The next thing was actually the training. Now, the training that we put in place was twofold. We had setter process training and sales process training. The sales process training we did with the founder and the closer. Because we knew there was a restriction on availability on the calendar, we made sure that that salesperson had the same training as the founder, and we gave them all the training to be able to upskill them, give them all the training to get them closing. We actually put them through a lot of role plays. Would have a weekly call with us for role plays, weekly calls with us for the leadership, but also one-on-one support where we would actually listen to their calls. So we went back and forth a lot of the times. And the amount of drills that we did with the role plays, I think we lost count on the amount of times we did so many role plays activities where we got that sales closer really competent. This sales closer actually came with a bit of skill, which was a great part of us recruiting. But then when we actually put the product and the knowledge and the belief of the founder behind it, it was actually a perfect recipe, because that's one thing that we got the numbers that we're going to go over in the execution part, which is coming up. I know you're probably waiting, so it's coming on showing you the exact stats that we got. Now, the last thing on the training part that we added in was daily meetings. We did have 3 types of meetings that we had every single day. We had the beginning of the day, middle of the day, and end of the day meetings. The one that I'm just going to focus on in a bit of detail today was the beginning of the day meetings. Because it was a sales rep and it was just the founder's already got responsibilities where they're doing all sorts of activities throughout the day, doing the marketing, fulfillment, doing so many things and running around like a headless chicken. We had to make sure that we can just put in one key meeting every single day in the beginning. There's no sales manager in place right now. The thing that we did was actually put in the beginning of the day meeting where we look at testimonials, share wins, and actually go over in detail of previous calls. So every single day, we'll listen to a call from the previous day, good or bad. We'll just randomly pick, and we called it a pulse check. So we do a pulse check of the previous day's quality, and we gave the founder a grading system. So off the back of the grading system, she could tick and be like, great, good, good. And then we actually trained the sales reps through the founder. What we would often do is we'd actually do the meetings for a lot of our business owners where we actually train the sales reps. But in this occasion, the founder truly wanted to learn a lot of management techniques. So we actually put her through all the things that she needs to be able to learn, how she should do it, what she should do, what she should say, how to run the meetings, the cadence in the meeting, and everything, the full A to Z. Now, the end of day report, we just put in, because we normally have an end of day meeting, but the founder was always busy. I would always say you need an end of day meeting, but on this occasion, we could only influence it in one way, end of day or beginning of the day. We actually chose to keep the beginning of the day meeting in, and the end of the day, we just had a report that gets sent out every single day into an email, into the Slack channel, and an email. So an email was sent, the email gets taken into a Slack channel and messaged into the Slack channel to say what happened that day, and we can keep an oversight, and the founder can keep an oversight of exactly what's happening in the business. Now, the onboarding for the setter that we did was all around the DM sequences. So we mapped out around 10 to 15 messages that would be the key messages that that person would be sending, receiving, what they would be saying. And after they knew, we also mapped out a bunch of voice notes from the founder. So we got the founder to go into a cafe and actually like record herself saying like, hey, tell me a bit more about you, what's made you message, or thanks for the follow. We recorded around 25 voice notes, which we put into ManyChats, and we can now send them in the messages. So just really easy, a few easy tactics to be able to give to the setter, creating more opportunities. The setter, we gave them a framework on how to actually do a pitch, how to actually warm up and find the pain. The setters training was all designed around finding the pain and going over 3 levels of pain in the DMs. Going over like a beginner level pain, which is like, I kind of know what they want, which most people will message and say, hey, I'm interested in this, a beginner level pain. We go to a deeper level of pain, which is more of an intermediate pain, which is, this is what I want, but this is what I'm struggling with, and this is like the main thing I want to fix, which is intermediate. And then the advanced level pain, which was, this is what I want, this is what I'm struggling with, and this is why I need to fix it. And that normally comes from good questioning from the setter. So the setter was able to dig deep and ask really good questions, but we had to train that in. So we trained the setter, trained the closer. Remember, the setters that we trained in, they were having a follow ad come in. They were messaging straight away. So it was all about the speed. The main reason why we knew we needed 2 people was because the setters need to be able to message as quickly as possible. Now, speed to lead is one of our key terms. And the speed to lead goes down to saying where the speed at which the lead comes in, how fast they're communicated with. Of course, you have your automations of how fast they're emailed, which is straight away, but how fast your setting team message them back. And that component is such a big part of it, and especially in the DM, because you can't automate a lot of the DM messages. You can use bots and all sorts to DM, but we don't want to actually keep a closer reply. So we made sure the setters are always doing a round robin and always active in their own times. And I do think what will happen with this business would be they'd have another 2 setters come in as they're increasing the ad budget and also running VSL ads. Then we're going to be actually adding in a sales coordinator who's going to be managing those 4 setters and actually overseeing that side of the team, and then working alongside the sales team, because that setup is a natural occurrence of actually a good setting activity moving in towards the closers. That pretty much covers the training. Obviously, they got access to our portals and we do training weekly and one-on-one with them. But the last section is actually the section that you've been waiting for, which is going over the execution and the numbers and what we actually did. Now, just going over the stats with you and what we actually accomplished before and where it's at. Now, we got in February and March around 600 messages average per month. Those 600 messages, if we broke down, we were converting 600 of those messages into 12 sales, which means for every 100 DMs that were coming in, we achieved 2 sales. So that's what was happening before. The ads were creating people coming in. Obviously, she pays the cost of acquisition. There's 100 messages, 2 would convert to actual sale. And because it was an 8K over those 2 sales, 4K for each one, the founder was pretty much thinking, wow, I'm liquidating my ad cost. I'm doing good. They might even renew onto a bigger package later. I'm happy. This is great. Until we had changed the format. And once we had changed it, we achieved in April, we got 654 appointments. So just around the same amount, maybe 10% more appointments. Out of 100, remember before it was 2 appointments for signing up. Now remember, before out of 100, it was 2 sales from every 100 DMs. Now what we had got was for every 100 DMs, we're now getting 18 appointments. Because we're using a booking system, we're getting the setters to book the lead into a call. We had 18 people book, a total of 117 appointments throughout the month. Now in April, we had 654 leads inquire. Out of those leads that inquired, we had 18% of them move into an appointment, which gives us 117 appointments throughout the month. So for every 100 DMs that we were getting, we were moving across into 19 appointments every single time. Before, it was 100 appointments to 2 sales. Now what we were getting was 100 down to 9 appointments. Now we were getting 100 down to 19 appointments. Now we can't stop there because some of those appointments don't actually show up, because it'd be a lie to say they all showed up. Now we were looking at about a 75% show up ratio for them. So we had 14 people show up to the calls. Now out of those 14 people that showed up to the calls, we had 50% of them purchase, which was 7. So now we're getting 7 sales for every 100 leads compared to before, which was 2 sales for every 100 leads. And the main process that we added was a setter and a closer. So when you think about this entire journey, we've tripled the revenue because we went from making 2 sales for every 100 leads all the way to 7 sales for every 100 leads. But there had to be a 5-step process put into place to be able to achieve that. Most people, what they will do wrong is they'll just hire a closer or hire a setter and say, go on, help us, just do this for us, without any instruction, without the mission, values, without the system, without the mapping. And without all of that being there, without that cohesive picture being truly built, you're never going to be able to get these conversions. And just to go down the actual stats of the profit after that, because if we had £168,000 in sales, before we didn't actually have to pay a setter and a closer, we gave the setter 3%. We gave the setter 3% and the closer 10%, which gives us 13% in commission, which gets added onto your CAC. But that 13% that we were giving out now was costing us £21,840 per month in commissions, which gives us a profit of £146,160 after the commissions were paid. So we went from making 48,000, where the founder did not have a sales system, no sales process, a weak CRM system, no setter, no closer, all the way to mapping out their journey, building the systems in place for them, hiring the sales team, training the sales team, and executing on the plan, taking them from 48,000 all the way to 168,000 in revenue. And of course, we had to pay the commissions of £21,854, and we left in a profit of over £146,000. Now, that mechanism is a 5-step process of something that you can implement to your business. If it's something that you want us to do for your business, so if it's something that your business needs today, you can actually see in the description below that you can book a call with me or my team, and we can talk to you in detail of how we actually build these systems for your business. Now, if you want to also share this video for any of your friends or founders that you think would actually need these tactics to implement their business, it's absolutely free. It gives them the knowledge on how they can start doing it today. If it's something that you want to do, you can inquire below. And if it's something that you want to actually give us a subscribe, share and follow, or comment below if this video was useful to you, I'll catch you on the next one.